Well, greetings, Boise State fans. Happy Thursday to you. Welcome to the Matt Bauscher Show. My name is BJ Rains. You got Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate right there. Sorry for if you were tuning in yesterday, ready for a show. I apologize. Matt was tuning in yesterday, ready to do a show, and I screwed up with traveling back from the CSUN game. So we're here doing the show on a Thursday. So appreciate it, all of you, for checking us out. And Matt, I don't think they've lost since we've talked, right? A couple of wins, so maybe starting the show.
Since the show was created, we're 2-0, a 2-game winning streak and undefeated. And there lots happened actually in the last 2 weeks. Player off the team and other guys stepping up, and it's been a whirlwind of a week.
Well, hopefully for Boise State, they can go on a nice winning streak here, and we can credit your show and this BroncoNationNews.com for getting it rolling. Hope, as always, Bauscher Real Estate, you'll consider Matt if you're looking to sell or buy a home. You can get out through him on social media, BauscherRealEstate.com as well. Appreciate him for supporting the site and doing this. So hopefully you'll return the favor to Matt and take advantage of his great company there, Bauscher Real Estate, for all of your real estate needs moving forward. But Matt, as you said, 2-0. They beat Tulsa, obviously, despite having the 24 turnovers last Friday. And then the CSUN game, I was down there in Northridge on Tuesday night for that one. Very interesting game. You had about 400 fans and just not much of an atmosphere, and they did what they needed to do. So 2 in a row. And does it kind of feel like maybe this team is slowly starting to, I know they're not playing the greatest of teams right now, but can you maybe see some things that make you think they're starting to go on a little bit of a roll here?
I do. I think they're getting settled in their roles a little bit more. And, they lost that game last week, and then they had Tulsa coming in on Friday, and we find out Dutrieve is off the team. And I'm sure everybody in the locker room's thinking we all got to step up because he was playing 30 minutes a game or so and, scoring 9 to 10 points a game, and roles changed. And they came out and they had a little bit of a struggle during parts of Tulsa, but they ended the game on a 14-2 run to beat, a pretty solid Tulsa team. And then yesterday they blew out the Trent Johnson coached team down in Southern California. So exciting. I think, watching Tyson Degenhart, he's coming alive. The other guys are filling in their roles. I love that Acott had 7 assists last night. Najee Smith didn't miss a shot. The up and under was Jordan-esque.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. Things are changing.
Well, let's go back to Dutrieve for a minute. I mean, you look at the raw talent on this team. Devonair Dutrieve is one of, if not the most talented, just raw player in terms of athleticism and in transition and getting above the rim. But he hadn't been playing great from three-point range, at least, and was only like 20-something%. He was part of the issues at the free throw line, and he had left the Arizona program. Obviously had some things there that led to him leaving there. And then for whatever reason, it just never meshed. And I don't know how many transfers you had when you played. It's obviously a bigger deal now to have all these transfers, but Leon brought in so many different transfers. I mean, heck, when the season started, all 5 starters were transfers. How hard is that to try to mesh all the transfers and guys that want their minutes and want their points? And it was kind of an issue last year, and it looked like early in the season, at least, it just didn't quite fit. All the pieces didn't quite fit. And so taking nothing away personally from Devonair Dutrieve, it just seems like right now, what you're getting from Degenhart and these other guys, it just fits what this team needed more. They didn't need another guy like a Dutrieve, at least from the team standpoint. Sure, he's a talented player, but it just didn't quite fit. What's your take on meshing all the transfers and Devonair not fitting in here?
If you don't buy in, and I think that's with a university program, a business, a company, sometimes you have to let go of an extreme talent for the greater good. And not picking on him at all, but when you start a game 11-0 and somebody's disappointed they're not starting, that's thinking about myself instead of thinking about the team. Not being the first one off the bench, good body language, clapping, cheering, bringing other people up. And it was definitely a tough decision, but you put Tyson in there. He has 3 turnovers all season. I mean, he's shooting the ball almost 40% from 3, and you got, Acott shooting the ball at 42% from 3, and Shaver's creeping up to 40%. So you have 3 of your starting 5 that are shooting the ball at an extremely high percentage, and Abu hasn't been shooting good outside, but then that opens up him to go north-south, which he does so well, and he's been fantastic. So the chemistry is just feeling a lot more natural right now, and the guys are, bonding well. I love seeing the crowd or the bench yesterday. When Winter scored that basket and getting excited and all that kind of stuff, and it's starting to really take shape and come together.
That was the coolest moment of the game for me was Sam Winter, the walk-on. I'm sure you had some walk-ons on your team that never got a chance to play much, and you just want to get them a basket so hard for all their hard work. And he had missed an open three-pointer, but then finally got a chance and scored on a layup. Actually, kind of a nice driving layup there to get on the scoreboard. And then I posted it on my Twitter feed. The camera panned over, and to see how excited all the players were for him. They were more excited on that than we've seen for most of the season. So that was a pretty cool moment. You mentioned Tyson Degenhart, 21 points. I think he scored in double figures in all 3 games since moving into the starting lineup. And let's not forget, they lost that St. Louis game, but that was because they shot 12 of 26 from the free throw line. I thought they actually played pretty well in that game. So I kind of look at it as 3 games with him in the starting lineup and 3 games here where they're playing better. It's a 2-game winning streak, but other than the free throws, I thought they actually played pretty well against St. Louis. So I see this as 3 games moving forward here, going back to the debacle against Bakersfield, obviously, that nobody wants to think about or mention. But you got 21 from Degenhart. He was 3 for 5 from 3 in that game. He's taking charges. He's playing defense. And you mentioned Najee Smith, too, and what he did. 17 points. I mean, 2 guys from the Spokane area, 38 points in the last game. I mean, obviously you're not going to get 38 out of them on a nightly basis, but if you're getting, somewhere around 10 points and 5 or 6 rebounds from each of those guys, Najee is becoming a force off the bench as well. That's 2 guys that, Najee made big improvements from last year, and Tyson wasn't even on the team last year. So that's 2 guys that you're adding into the mix really that are making big differences this year.
I mean, our starting 5 is so solid. Those 5, I mean, if you look at it from who's going to get minutes, you have 200 minutes, 5 positions, 40 minutes a game. And the starting 5 is probably going to get consistently 150 minutes a game. So then the coaching staff has to say the 50 minutes is going to go to Pavle, Max Rice, of course, who looked really good last night with some assists and steals, and obviously Najee Smith, and then Lucas. So those 4 are going to try to get the 50 minutes, and I bet they're going to go anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes a game. And if they play better, they'll get left out there long. But now people are going to kind of know their roles, and it's going to really come together. But it's only 200 minutes. That's all there is, and I know guys are going to be fighting for that.
Well, what I want to ask about Max Rice, because I know he was injured in the offseason coming back, and he just doesn't look quite right out there. And you obviously, you're a guy that had cold streaks, had hot streaks. I know as you're a shooter, you got to keep shooting right. And even in the last game, he at home against Tulsa, he passed up a couple open looks, and then fans were yelling for him to shoot. So he finally forces up a couple looks that maybe aren't great. He had a couple of good looks in the CSUN game. It's just not falling right now. I don't think anybody would have expected this point in the season. Max Rice still wouldn't have hit a 3-pointer on the season. What's your take on Max? And as a shooter, I know you want to dish it off, but at some point, I mean, it just takes one, and hopefully he can get rolling, right?
Yeah, it is. It's confidence, and it's just repetition, and coming off an injury, a little bit of your rhythm's probably not there, but you almost have to have the J.R. Smith mentality, and you just keep shooting and shooting until you shoot out of it. And if you're getting put on the bench because you're missing open shots, then so be it. But you have to take those shots, and you want people to play you. So then, he can get by people and get other people, but you don't want to pass up open shots. I mean, he's out there to hit shots. He's obviously a knockdown shooter. I've seen him hit 73s in a row. It's coming together. And last night it was good to see, him score inside and get some steals and that great one-handed bounce pass dunk. And his defense has been great. So, he starts hitting the open shot, and the way he's playing defense and doing the hustle plays, he's going to be out there a lot.
On the fly, I did this, Matt. I think I have the video of Sam's layup with the crowd here. Let's see if we can. Now, a good show host would have already had that in the can if we were going to talk about it. So it took me a few minutes. I was able to pull that in there. That was, going back to him, a pretty cool moment.
So I have chills right now because obviously I was a walk-on, and the walk-ons, whether it's basketball, football, whatever, they go on every road trip. They're at every film session. They're at every weight room. They do everything everybody else does. But the fact that he got in and got to do that, it gives me chills because all the teammates that know how hard the walk-on works, they don't get school paid for, they don't get books paid for. That touches home to me, and I thought that was really, really special.
Now, yeah, it was bad hosting on my part. I would have had that ready to go when you talked about it. But our 2-hour-long show prep meeting before this, we forgot to mention we were going to have that ready. But, I hate to get a little negative, but the free throws are still an issue again. They went only 5 of 10, I believe, in the last game. But I think they might have made 5 in a row to finish the game. So maybe if you're looking for a silver lining, they were 0 for 5, I think, and then made 5 in a row. But just, I know we talked about it last week, but I mean, it cost him the St. Louis game, and it's going to cost him another game. You got Santa Clara, a big game coming up. You got Washington State, and then all the conference games. Obviously, none of those are going to be easy. So what do they do? I mean, how do they get that? I mean, you even have Marcus Shaver, who's a 90% free throw shooter, bricking too. I mean, it just seems like now it's contagious. What do you think's going on with the free throws? And I know we talked about it last week, but how do they get this fixed?
I think you just got to not put the weight of your shoulders on, just shoot it. It's not life or death. You'll start hitting it, and then, it'll be second nature. They'll just keep hitting it. Not looking past the Prairie View. I expect a blowout there. But the Santa Clara game is going to be an absolute battle, and it's going to come down to the last 5 minutes. I mean, you take Santa Clara, who's a WCC top team. They smacked TCU by 20 this year. They beat Nevada by 22. They beat Stanford by 16. That is going to be a dogfight that's going to come down to the very end. And I was happy that our free throws actually sealed the game with Tulsa. Abu hit some, Max hit the last two to win the game. So Tulsa, our free throws came through, and Santa Clara on Tuesday night. I hope we get a big crowd, because that's going to be a game. If we go to 6-4 on Friday, that's a game that gets us to 7-4 with some pretty good wins.
Yeah, I mean, other than the Bakersfield game, the other three losses were all top 100 losses. I mean, you would have liked to have won a couple of those. The Bonaventure game would have been huge, that down the stretch you couldn't hang on. But, I mean, the only really, bad loss is the Bakersfield one. Now, that is a bad loss that's going to stick with them and when resumes and all that. But, I mean, if you can – it's not like the season's over here. I mean, the other three losses are all top 100 losses. If you can go on a run, if you beat Santa Clara, and then if you can somehow beat Washington State, that kind of makes up almost for the Bakersfield one and kind of evens it out a little bit. So, there are a lot of games left. I will say this about Prairie View – A&M, you mentioned that they're awful. They are awful. They're 0-8. But I will say this: they're one of these teams, Matt, that they're playing 14 straight road games to start the season to basically fund their athletic department. So they're basically just rolling around the country, taking the $100,000 paychecks from all these schools. And they've already played at St. Mary's, San Francisco, Michigan, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Grand Canyon, Loyola Marymount, South Dakota State. So they've already played plenty of road games. They're not going to be fazed by the crowd or anything. They've also had a week off. They got to go home and rest up a little bit from being on the road for a while. And then their last couple of games as well, South Dakota State is number 94 at Ken Palm. They only lost by 9. And then Loyola Marymount is only 110 at Ken Palm. They only lost by 3 at Loyola Marymount. So their last two games, they've actually been playing a little better. So I haven't seen the spread yet. I'm sure Boise State will be 20-point favorites or whatever, but we saw against Bakersfield, there's no such thing as a guaranteed win, right? They came off the road yesterday, probably didn't practice yesterday. You get a day in today. What's that like? Maybe the Bakersfield game was a good thing in the fact that Leon won't let it happen again. But how do you avoid this team's terrible? We're already looking ahead to Santa Clara.
Friday's life. I can say we're looking forward to Tuesday. They can't. Life or death is Friday. I mean, that's where the maturity of the team and the leadership needs to come out with, our senior led team is first 5 minutes. You got to punch them in the mouth so they don't think they have a chance, and they got to go all out, and they need to win by, a good margin. They don't want to let them linger around and have it come down to the final 5 minutes. So I hope the maturity and leadership, and now that they're taking form, will come out and they treat it like life or death. It's a must win.
And I agree with you on Santa Clara as well. That's obviously the local angle is Scott Garson, the old College of Idaho coach, is an assistant coach there, and they're doing very well. And you look ahead to next Tuesday. They've already won against Stanford, Nevada, and TCU. So 3 good wins, 3 top 100 wins: Stanford, Nevada, and TCU. And everybody knows how good Nevada's going to be this year and should be. And they beat them by 22 points. So
that's what's great. The Mountain West, I mean, is nuts. You got Colorado State at 9-0, picked to win the league. You got Wyoming, who finally lost last night. They're 8-1. They got beat by Arizona. I saw it on SportsCenter. Some of the dunks with Jeff Linder getting upset, but they beat Wyoming beat Washington on the road this year. The conference is good. We haven't even talked about San Diego State and Fresno and Nevada. Yeah. If we get some big wins there, the resume is going to start looking really, really good.
5 teams in the top 76 at Ken Palm. And I always talk about Ken Palm. Some people say, well, what the heck is Ken Palm? It's basically the advanced metrics, the saber metrics for baseball, or the advanced analytics that basically predict based on where teams should be ranked more than just, the final score of the record. It looks at possessions and tempo and percentage of shots and all kinds of different factors where it puts them together and says, how good is this team and how would they do against another team in kind of a predictive measure. And Boise State is holding actually pretty decent in the rankings at number 65. And this is one of the rankings. Remember, there's 350 Division I teams. And this is one of the ones they used to use the old RPI back in your day, Matt. And that's so outdated now that the KenPom rankings is one of the rankings along with the net rating that they use to kind of the KenPom number will be on the sheet that the selection committee looks at when they're picking this. So it does matter. And you look at and it helps do the quad 1, quad 2 wins and all that. But right now, Colorado State is 41, San Diego State 46, Utah State 61, Boise State 65, Nevada 76. So you've got 5 teams already in the top 100. And then Fresno State is 103, Wyoming is 112, and even UNLV is 137. So you're talking 8 of the 11 teams in the league at 137 or higher. In the past, there's been those 3, 4, 5 teams that are like, 320, 330 and just kill your numbers. But almost on a nightly basis, once we get to conference play, Matt, these are going to be quality wins that will help them if they can get them. So that's why I agree with you. And kind of as we wrap this up, final thing, I mean, it's 5-4 is not where they want to be. It's where nobody wants to be at this point. You can certainly say that the Bakersfield game at a minimum, you'd like to be, 6-3 or whatever that would have been if you traded that one. But there's a lot of season left, a lot of games left. And again, CSUN's terrible. I feel bad for Trent Johnson. They're just not any good. So you can't put a whole lot of stock into that game. But hopefully they're getting some momentum going. And I do like what it looks like with Tyson Degenhardt in there. And it just feels different. And so there's a lot of games left. There's no reason to give up on the season at this point, and maybe they're about to go on a big run.
No, I'm excited. I mean, you talk about there's only 68 teams out of 350 that make the tournament. So if you can get the KenPom score in the 50s, you're going to be looking pretty good at large. And they go beat Washington State and Santa Clara. I mean, they're going to probably be under the 60 number.
That'd be the perfect scenario if you can somehow get on a roll here and go into conference play with the Santa Clara win, with the if you can somehow get Washington State, and again they're like in the 30s. I mean, we're kind of that's going to be a really, really tough game. They have only lost one game, and I think it was to USC by 2. But if you can somehow get that and be 9-4 going into conference play, I think all of a sudden, I mean, maybe you have a different feel about this team. So a lot of basketball left. Really enjoyed you in the Tulsa game, getting on the refs again. It's my favorite part of the game. It was a AAC crew, so you knew there was going to be some shenanigans there, but Boise State was able to. That was actually, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but a very impressive comeback win because they were down like 8 points with like 5 minutes left.
14-2 run to end the game. You
lose the Tulsa game, all of a sudden. I mean, there's some fans giving up. It's just it's a much different feeling. You pull that one out somehow, and then you beat CSUN, and now hopefully they can get on a roll. So Matt, appreciate your time. Sorry again for screwing up yesterday. Bauscher Real Estate, part of the Amherst Madison Real Estate Advisors Group. Check them out online, BauscherRealEstate.com, Facebook, Instagram, all the different areas. Matt does a great job. One of the top real estate agent in the market. So there's no reason to go anywhere else. Big or small, right? I know you like the bigger houses, the bigger checks, but you'll take
them all. Right? Junkyard dog. I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, he'll take all of them, big or small. So appreciate it, Matt. Hope folks will check you out, and we'll be seeing you courtside hopefully tomorrow night, and then we'll try to do this next Wednesday. Hopefully the morning after a big win against Santa Clara, and maybe that's 4 wins in a row for this team. Let's make it happen.
Go Broncos. Thanks, BJ.
There it is, Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, and appreciate his insights. Keep it tuned, BroncoNationNews.com. We'll